A Begin in the Dark by Noha Ijiachi. Chapter 30. Like a Mirror.
We've already talked about the internship, but today we will have some visitors that have found time for you to explain in more details what an internship is. So please listen to them carefully.
Aizawa-sensei says after the morning routine is done, finally quelling Izuku's curiosity. He's been dying to ask about the 3 new lights he felt waiting outside the door for a while now.
These third years are amongst the top students at UA at the moment. Please come in.
He hears the door slide open, the newcomer stepping in, standing in front of the class as little whispered comments ripple among his classmates.
Please give a brief introduction of yourself to start off. Omajiki.
Aizawa-sensei says in his usual monotone tone. What follow is a long moment of silence as Izuku feels most of his classmates' lights filled with intimidation. He's not quite sure what to make of it, seeing as one of the third-year lights, Amajiki's, feels completely paralyzed by fear to him. Izuku blinks a little confused frown on his face as Amajiki finally speaks. This is no good, Miro. I know, he mutters, voice vaguely trembling. Even if I try to imagine them all as potatoes, they still have human bodies. I don't know what to say. A pause. I want to go home. Another one of the third years speaks up at that, her voice joyful and bubbly. Don't mind this guy too much. He's Tamaki Amajiki. He's a bit of a chicken. I'm Nijire Hado, and today we are here to talk to you a bit about the internship. But, she hums, pensive. Why do you have a mask? Is it a fashion thing? Shoji doesn't really have the time to answer as she continues. And you were Todoroki, right? Why do you have that scar on your face? Izuku feels Shoto jump a bit in surprise as he mutter an indecisive, that's... And yet again, she's moving on. Actually, though, your horns are cute. Do they go back if they break? And you're Midoriya. Is it true that you're blind? Well, yeah, I can see it now. And you, Mineta, is that your hair? Does it grow? I was like, which kind of frog are you? It's like, wherever I look, there's something interesting to observe in this class. She's like a whirlwind, leaving everyone unable to really answer as she excitedly approaches Ojiro, asking something about his tail. Aizawa-sensei's light is pretty much the embodiment of exasperation as he let out a low, irritated...
I thought you guys would be more rational than this.
Don't worry, he raised her head. The third student says, his voice loud and enthusiastic. I'll take care of this. I'm Togata Mirio. You first years already got your provisional license. Huh? Seems like a very energetic class. But you all look so confused right now, I bet you don't understand why you suddenly got these third years coming in to speak to you about the internships. Huh? There's a moment of silence, everyone more than a bit perplexed by the rather unique approach of these older students. Mirio's light feels just as energetic as his voice does, pretty much like a little sun shining bright. He continues, unfazed. I was thinking it would be much better to speak with actions rather than words. Why don't you all team up and fight against me? A chorus of confused, huh? And breaks through the entire class as Mirio turns toward Aizawa-sensei. I think that would be a clearer explanation of the kind of things they'll be able to learn during their internships. Don't you agree? And where's your head? Aizawa-sensei sighs and yet gives in.
Do whatever you want.
They all stand a bit awkwardly and unsure in their gym uniforms as Mirio stretches, whistling in the same gymnasium they used for their special moves training. Do you really want to do this? Zero asks, perplexed. Yup, Mirio replies, tearful, not a sign of doubt in him. Amajiki, standing close to a wall, mutters, Mirio, you shouldn't do this. At least don't go too hard on them or you'll make them lose hope. Aren't you underestimating us a bit too much? Kirishima asks, cautious. We already got our fair share of experience with villains. The way you talk, it's as if you see us all like small fries. Yeah, Mirio replies immediately. That's exactly it. Feel free to attack me all at once in whichever way you consider fit. Or does someone want to go first? This guy's really grating on my nerves. Izuku turns at the growl as Kachan steps forward, kicking his knuckles. I'll go. A series of things happens in rapid succession. Mirio laughs, amused, as Kachan wastes no time darting toward him, readying an explosion in both hands. Izuku feels Mirio's light shift, clearly activating his quirk, although Izuku has no idea of the nature of it yet. Jiro let out a high-pitched yell, thoroughly embarrassed, and Izuku feels not without surprise. Mirio's light goes straight through Kachan's, making him release a little choked noise as he tumbles down the floor, shocked. Sorry about that, Mirio says after. Sometimes I forget to keep mind to all the fine adjustments. What the crap? Kachan wheezed painfully from the floor before slowly standing once more. As I said, feel free to come at me all at the same time. I really don't mind, Mirio says, energetic. There's a moment of hesitation before everyone steels themselves ready to attack. Most close-range attackers charged forward, but Izuku lagged behind just a bit. He needed to try and understand what Mirio's quirk is first. His decision to observe rather than attack pays off. Mirio's light goes straight through the floor before shooting out diagonally as if he's being ejected in the direction of the little group of long-range attackers that kept their distance, surprising them from behind. It's only a matter of seconds before he takes them down, hitting them just like he did with Kachan straight through the stomach. Must be pretty painful since they all go crumble down instantly. Even Kachan seems to be still rattled, breathing heavily, and Izuku knows for a fact that he can take a beating pretty well. Well, that's it for the long range, Mirio comments, huffing. Now for the others. Damn, that's unfair, Kirishima comments, a mix of tenseness and interest in his voice. Not only he seems to be able to phase through things, but teleportation too. He's not teleporting, Izuku says, voice low. I'm not sure how yet, but the way he moves, it's all part of his quirk. He can feel the surprise shake the classmates around him as they turn. What? You shouldn't get distracted. They're a battle. Mirio is charging toward them now. He's fast, and in an instant, he goes through the floor again. Izuku feels him right under their feet and then shooting up behind him. He manages to roll away from his attack just in the nick of time by activating One for All, making Mirio release a little interested hum. Everyone else was completely taken by surprise by his incredibly fast movements, and Izuku doesn't really have the time to try attack, as he helplessly feels the rest of his classmates go down under Mirio's onslaught. He's astonishingly quick, not losing time in trying to charge against Izuku once more, clearly wanting to put an end to this one-sided duel, seeing as Izuku is the only one left standing. But Izuku dodges once more, buying time as he tries to figure out a way to attack back. It seems like he can activate it through his entire body, or through parts of it as he pleases. Izuku thinks to himself, ungracefully dodging attack after attack, forced to call on One for All, much stronger than usual, in order to not get hit by Mirio's assault. If I try to just hit back, he's surely going to phase through my attack, and that'll leave me completely open. If I can manage a feint, maybe. In all this, Mirio's light feels equally interested and amused by Izuku's series of barely managed dodges. Izuku rolls backwards to avoid a hand directed to his face, and in a split second he does so, Mirio phases through the floor once more. Izuku rushes to stand up, turning toward the point Mirio is about to appear, already charging a right hook. Mirio makes a surprised little gasp when he emerges back with Izuku's fist already almost upon his face, and Izuku can feel his light shift as he activates his quirk once more in that zone. A little grin pulling at his lips, Izuku stops the punch, his leg already making contact with Mirio's ankle in a fast kick. That wins him another, louder surprised noise as Mirio loses balance, but his reaction is still insanely quick. In his falls, he kicks up, his foot phasing through Izuku's shoulder, causing a sudden high sting of pain in it. As Mirio hits the ground, he rolls on his belly, grabbing Izuku's ankle and jerking him violently off his feet in the second of pain that clouded his mind. Izuku falls as well, hitting concrete with his back painfully, breath momentarily knocked out of him. That's definitely enough to do him in, even if he managed to avoid a direct hit to the stomach. His back is protesting loudly at that, and he groans, not moving, realizing only after a couple of seconds that a familiar light is kneeling by him, giving off worry in waves. I'm fine, he manages to wheeze, forcing himself to sit, despite the sting of pain in his back. I'm okay, Shoto. Shoto doesn't comment, irritation seeping through the fog of anguish. You're an idiot, he mutters, putting his right hand on Izuku's back and spreading a thin sheen of ice over his clothing. That's already enough to make the pain recede a bit. You should be more careful. I was just trying to fight back, Izuku sighs. He wasn't doing so bad, he thinks, before falling on his back. Mirio was standing in front of them now, seemingly a bit confused by their exchange.
Oh, Mirio, are you listening? I haven't seen you get hit in ages.
Hado approached them, excitedly bouncing.
Hey, Midoriya, what's your quirk? Like, that was pretty neat. It looked like you knew exactly where Mirio was all the time. Like, how does it work?
Oh, my quirk, it's like a radar. I can always see where someone is, regardless of physical obstacles in my way. Izuku replies, blinking, making Mirio release a little interested hum.
Oh, that's cool. It's like a natural counter to Mirio's.
Hado laughs, grabbing Mirio's elbow and shaking him a bit. Isn't it, Mirio? Right? Hado was right. Seems like your quirk can counter mine perfectly. Mirio laughs, amused, and a little faint. You surprised me, I admit. But your movements are a bit sloppy, and I forced you on defense most of the time, didn't I? Izuku scratches the back of his hand. Yeah, you were incredibly quick, senpai. I could barely react in time. He turns a bit to Shoto, gently pushing his arm away before standing. The rest of the class is also standing. Now, most of his classmates still feeling a bit rattled. I was really surprised to see the way you get shot out of the ground when you face through it. Can you explain how does that work? Mirio pats his shoulder, enthusiastic, a smile in his voice. Sure, let's all group up so we can discuss what you all just learned. He already wasn't exactly in the best of moods as he made his way back from the bathroom during lunch break. His stomach still hurt when that stupid smiley third year hit with his weird quirk. So when All Might seemed to appear from out of nowhere, Katsuki didn't even consider the idea of talking to him, as Deku urged him to do. Still, the man seemed to make a beeline for him, and Katsuki could only stop and blink, confused, when he found himself being stopped by 2-something meters of lanky blonde teacher.
Young Bakugo, I was hoping to catch you.
He says cheerful.
I wonder if you could spare some time for me. There's a couple of things I'd like to discuss with you.
Oh crap. Me knows. Kazuki has to hold the urge to sigh as he shifts his weight from foot to foot. He really can't think of a good enough excuse to say no to All Might, and he guesses that if he somehow knows, Katsuki won't be able to escape from this topic for long. He shrugs, following silently with his hands in his pockets after All Might gave him a nod. He guides him down to the teacher's offices area, walking him in his personal one before closing the door behind them with a soft click.
Would you like a tea?
All Might asks amicably, and when Katsuki shrugs again, he seems to take it as a yes, walking toward a table where an electric kettle is sitting. Katsuki sits down on the couch, hands still in his pockets, staring at All Might's shoulders. When did he start to wear clothing that actually fitted him properly?
I won't waste your time.
All Might suddenly starts, not turning to him as he prepares the tea.
You are a smart boy. I'm sure you already know what I wish to discuss with you.
I guess. Katsuki concedes, sounding more petulant than he really wanted. Still, All Might chuckles briefly, but when he speaks again, his voice is serious.
I think I owe you an apology,
he says, softly, before turning with a couple of steaming cups in hand.
I think I should have approached this topic sooner.
A little sigh as he sits down in front of Katsuki.
In any case, is there something you wish to tell me?
Katsuki purses his lips, tense. He's not the kind of person to just pour his heart out as if it's nothing. He's not Deku.
All Might sighs again as he pushes the teacup toward him.
Alright, I guess I'll try and make this a bit easier for you, he says. I know that what happened in Camino Ward must have been silently eating you, and I'm sorry I did not take that in consideration. That said, you should not blame yourself. None of what happened was your responsibility, and the blame lies solely on the shoulders of those that wished to harm you.
His voice is low, earnest. The sunken blue eyes never left Katsuki's as he spoke.
The fact that I cannot use my power anymore is not a consequence of that battle. It's something that was meant to happen sooner or later.
Katsuki frowns, holding eye contact. So Deku said the truth after all.
I just want you to be aware that I do not blame you in the slightest for what has happened.
All Might continues, kind in front of his silence.
You are a precious student, and I will lay down my life if it means protecting you over and over again. The fact that I can't use my quirk anymore is but a small price to pay to still have you here safe and sound right now.
That's when Katsuki finally could not look at him anymore, turning his face away. The absolute sincerity in the sunken blue, the low but honest affection in his voice, it made Katsuki feel open, vulnerable. He squirms in his seat, uncomfortable.
I don't need to hear that.
He snaps back, more aggressive than he really wants.
I don't need someone to feed some kind of little fairy tale to me. I don't need hugs and reassurance. I'm not him.
There's a small moment of silence before All Might asks, measured,
Who? You know how.
Katsuki replies, flat.
This kind of mushy bullshit might work well with him, but save it when speaking to me. All I want from you is the truth.
Very well,
All Might says, putting down his teacup and resting his hands in the middle of his knees, long fingers crossed.
Regardless of what you think, what I said so far is nothing but the truth. Now it's up to you to accept it or not.
A pause.
That and wanting the truth and actually receiving it are very different matters, and there are things I simply cannot tell you.
Katsuki has to stop himself from scoffing as he finally turns back to him. All Might's expression is much more serious now, regarding him in a way much different than just a handful of seconds prior.
You do realize that saying that is an admission by itself.
He can't help but reply, tilting an eyebrow. All Might holds his eyes impassive.
Take it as you will,
He replies with a small shrug.
You are a brilliant young man, Bakugo, and I think you can understand perfectly well why some secrets need to remain secrets.
A small silence falls on the both of them. At this point, Katsuki is about 99% sure that All Might gave his powers to Deku. How or why, it's still a mystery. And going by the look in All Might's eyes, it will keep being a mystery for the foreseeable future. But he's lying to himself, isn't he? He knows perfectly well why All Might would choose Deku. A person that's just like him, irritatingly kind and idealistic and annoyingly loving. A person that would jump into help disregarding their own safety if someone was in trouble. A person that just goes up to people and openly admits what they are feeling and why. Someone that wears their heart on a sleeve regardless of how many times it's been hit. And above all, yes, he does understand. How would the world react to knowing such a thing? That the greatest hero in the world gave his powers to a blind teenager? Deku would probably know no peace for the rest of his life. And not only that, but anyone around him would be in danger just as much as he would. Katsuki takes a sip of his tea, biding time, before answering with a sigh.
Yes, I understand.
All Might visibly relaxes at that.
I'm glad,
He says after a moment.
Maybe in the future things will change, but for now I can only ask you to please not touch this topic again.
I'll let it go. Katsuki concedes flat. I got as much of an answer as I could get in any case, I guess.
A pause.
That all? Can I go now?
All Might eyes him, tilting his head on a side.
I hope that you will stop torturing yourself with guilt now, at least.
he says, blunt.
I advise you to speak about your troubles with your friends in the future. It does wonders in helping a weary heart.
God, you two are like two water drops. Love to spell the same kind of corny lines. Katsuki grumbles, rolling his eyes, surprising him all by chuckles.
Oh, wait.
He says, amused, not pretending not to know what Katsuki is talking about now.
Still, my advice stands. We cannot live like lone wolves all our lives, my boy.
His voice suddenly turned to serious.
Trust me, I would know. I tried, for a bit. It did me no good. If I'm still here right now, despite everything, I only owe it to those around me. To all the people I could rely on in my worst moments.
He stands, taking both their cups casually and bringing them back toward the kettle.
We are not made to spend our lives all on our own. Take Izuku. Would he be here if not for the help of the people that cared for him, that helped him? Kindness goes a long way, young Bakugo. And while your ambition is certainly laudable and will push you to do better, there's only so much you will be able to achieve only relying on that.
He turns back to Katsuki, his expression soft and steely at the same time.
Do not be afraid to accept others in your heart. Yes, it's scary, and sometimes it will hurt. But becoming a hero is also that. Being capable of selflessly putting others' needs in front of ours. Learning of giving and accepting love. Learning how to rely on those around us. The only real weapon we have in the face of evil. It's never too late to learn that, to make amends. And I do not see any reason why you shouldn't be able to do so, no matter how disbelieving you are of my words right now.
Katsuki shakes his head for a second, chasing away the expression that must have froze on his face without him even noticing. All my chuckles, before continuing.
I hope you will reflect upon what I just said. And be aware that if you ever need to talk about anything, my door will always be open. If you don't have anything else you wish to say to me for now, then you are free to go.
He says with a small smile.
I will see you at the next lesson, my boy. Oh, and please remember not to break curfew again. Next time Aizawa won't be so lenient.
Their third school day comes to an end, the sky outside the dormitory already dark and full of stars. Shoto looks up, noticing Yaoyorozu and Uraraka emerging from the girls' bathing facilities with their hair still slightly humid after their post-dinner baths, chatting quietly between themselves. They approach the couches where he, Izuku, and Ida were sitting, and Shoto nods at them when they also sit down, looking as tired as he feels. "Hey," Uraraka said, sighing. "Full day, huh?" Yeah," Izuku mumbles, relaxed, slightly rousing from the little sleepy daze that seemed to have enveloped him. He was pretty much putty under Shoto's hands as he's been rubbing gentle, soft massages all along Izuku's abused back for the past 10 minutes, finding little tense knots and working them patiently and carefully. It seemed to be effective, seeing how completely relaxed Izuku was. It was very relieving to see him like this, considering that Shoto could tell all day long that the hit he took in his glaring weak point definitely hurt more than Izuku was letting on. Ashido and Asui emerged from the kitchen, the both of them comfortably taking the rest of the couch where Yaoyorozu and Uraraka were sitting. "Miria-senpai was quite something else, huh?" Ashido comments, massaging her stomach like she could still feel the hit she took. "It's cool that he rose to the top like that, though. His quirk surely sounds like a difficult one to use." "His control, it was incredible," Izuku murmurs in agreement, letting out a small yawn before continuing. "He could seamlessly shift the activation points in the blink of an eye. I cannot imagine how hard he must have trained to reach such a level." "You were doing really good too, Midoriya," Ashido adds, cheerful. "I mean, Senpai was clearly more experienced, but it was super cool how he couldn't hit you for a bit. I bet that if you two were at the same skill level, it would have turned into an impossible stalemate of a fight." Zuko chuckles, amused. "I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was holding back. He's really strong," he replies sleepily. Well, Aizawa-sensei did say that he's pretty much considered a possible candidate for the number 1 spot in the future. Ida comments, pensive. He surely made a strong argument for these hero internships, didn't he? To think about the kind of experience we can acquire by participating in one. What do you guys think?
Shoto did not reply for obvious reasons, as Rebecca hummed, pensive.
I think I will try, she says, drumming her fingers on her knee. I want to become much stronger, and this seems like a good occasion. I'd like to try an internship as well.
Asui follows, a finger on her mouth.
I learned a lot during the experience week, and I'd like to learn even more.
Izuku hummed as well, sniffing.
I will definitely try to get into one, he adds, pensive in a low voice. I'll call Gran Torino. Maybe he'll feel like taking me in once more.
His muttering turned into a little sigh as Shoto silently found another small knot in his lower back, gently working it. Izuku yawns again.
Stop! I'm falling asleep,
he says after a handful of seconds, a bit slurred, sounding like the exact opposite of someone that wanted the massage to stop. Shoto ignored the little snickers coming from the girl's couch, patting Izuku's shoulder with his free hand. Let's get you to bed then, he says, softly, a corner of his mouth pulling up in a lopsided smile when Izuku whines. Come on, you're tired. You need to sleep.
Fine,
Izuku huffed, yawning once more. It was a testament to how tired he must really be, the fact he gave in so easily. Shoto carefully stood, gently taking Izuku's elbow to guide him up and taking his weight when Izuku leaned against his shoulder with a little hum. Good night, guys, he mutters, eyes closed, as Shoto gently started to guide him toward the elevator. There's a small chorus of fond good night as they walk away, Shoto waving vaguely with his free hand. When they step in the elevator, Izuku lazily circles his waist with both arms, cheek pressed against Shoto's shoulder, his breathing slow and regular. Hey, are you falling asleep on me? Shoto asks, amused, and Izuku ups. Go on, hang in there until I get you to your bed. Okay, Izuku mutters. Senpai was super strong. Had to up the gradient. Had to what? Shoto asks, perplexed. At that, Izuku blinks blearily, his face shifting up to him with a little confused expression. Huh? Never mind. Shoto sighs, shaking his head. Izuku is pretty much sleeping on his feet. The elevator doors slide open and he has to drag him the short distance to his room. When he guides him to sit on the mattress, Izuku hums appreciatively, falling on his side and nuzzling his pillow. Shoto bends on his knees, carefully dragging the covers down from under Izuku. Don't you want to wear your pajamas? He asks, gentle, seeing as Izuku is still wearing one of his nondescript white shirts and a loose pair of sweatpants. It's fine. Comfortable, Izuku replies, stretching an arm out, eyes closed. Give me my phone. What for? Shoto asks, covering him properly. Have to call Gran Torino. At that, Shoto can't help but chuckle. Izuku, you can call him tomorrow. Just sleep. Izuku hums weakly, his arm hanging limp off the mattress. He's breathing evenly, lips slightly parted, but when Shoto attempts to stand up, he grabs at the fabric of his pants. Stay, he mutters, voice so slurred Shoto could barely make out the word. With a little sigh, he sits back on the floor by the bed, collecting both legs against his chest with an arm, as he gently pets Izuku with his other hand. In the matter of a minute, Izuku is already asleep, and Shoto takes a handful of seconds for himself, observing him, before shifting on his knees and leaning in to press a gentle kiss against Izuku's hair. Love you, he murmurs, more for his own sake than anything else. It's been real hard keeping those words to himself, and it doesn't look like it's going to become any easier as time goes by. He finally stands for good, padding out the room and stealing one last glance to the mop of soft curly hair before turning off the light and closing the door.
Toshinori is certainly surprised, and it takes him quite a bit of self-control to not spit out the sip of tea he casually took, just as young Midoriya asked him if he could introduce him to Night-Eye. Thankfully, the computer in front of him is saved as he manages to gulp down the tea, coughing just a bit. Young Midoriya doesn't comment, standing in front of him, clearly determined and eager. Toshinori takes another second to take a deep breath in.
Where did you hear that name?
He can't help but ask, buying a bit of time.
I spoke with Gran Torino this morning about the internship, young Midoriya explains, and he told me about him, so, can you please help me?
Toshinori sighs, putting his cup down before standing. Midoriya blinks up at him, confused.
Let's walk a bit.
Toshinori says, cautious.
There's a couple of things we have to talk about.
When he steps out the teacher's office, young Midoriya dutifully falls by his side, silent. It takes Toshinori a good minute to gather the right words.
I understand your eagerness regarding the internships, but if I have to be honest, I do not completely agree with the idea.
You don't?
During the meeting, when we discussed the possibility, I sided with the faction that was against them. With the recent rise of villain activity, I believe it would be better for first years to observe and postpone the internships for a later time.
Toshinori explains, voice low.
Not to mention, I think it would be better for you to just train and strengthen yourself for the time being.
Young Midoriya frowns, pale eyes pointed forward. But that's not all that there's to it, isn't it?
No.
Toshinori sighs, guarding a hand through his hair.
It's me and Night-Eye. Things are complicated. I cannot just waltz into his office as if nothing happened.
At that, young Midoriya turned his sharp gaze on him. It made Toshinori think of a particularly perceptive pale-eyed hawk.
I don't want to push you, especially since this is clearly personal, he says after a while, voice serious. But I really think working under Night-Eye's guidance will help me figure out where to go from here. Isn't there any other way you could possibly help me out?
Toshinori sighs, massaging his eyes. He stays silent for long seconds as they step outside in the gardens.
There might be.
He concedes.
I'll have to speak with someone. I will let you know as soon as possible.
Oh, okay.
Young Midoriya replies, a bit of relief seeping in his voice.
So, what did you want to talk about then?
A lopsided smile pulls at Toshinori's lips as he sits down under a tree. Young Midoriya follows suit after tilting his head curiously at him, and he sits by Toshinori's side, collecting his knees against his chest.
Seeing how busy you've been in the past few days, I could never find time to approach you about this. But I think there's a couple of things we need to clear over.
Toshinori starts, gentle.
First of all, Aizawa has been so kind as to decide not to punish you for breaking curfew the other night, but as to let you know there won't be another saving grace if it happens again.
At that, young Midoriya flinches visibly, dragging a hand on his face with a sigh.
Dang it,
he murmurs.
I knew it.
So, regarding that, can you tell me what was it all about?
Toshinori observes, silent and still. He's been thinking about how to approach this quite a bit, especially after his brief but intense private little chat with young Bakugo. It does not surprise him to see young Midoriya's expression shift into a tense, guarded one, fingers nervously picking at his school uniform pants.
It's complicated,
he finally says after the silence dragged 1 second too long.
Don't mean to parrot what you said earlier, but it is.
Toshinori doesn't comment, giving him a few more seconds, a chance to come forward on his own. When it doesn't happen, he puts a careful hand on his shoulder.
I have half an idea about it already, especially after I spoke with young Bakugo.
That seems to snap Midoriya out of the pinched expression that took place on his face as he turns and blinks, surprised.
You did?
He asks.
Did it went okay?
We spoke about what we needed to speak about,
Toshinori replies, careful.
and I hope young Bakugo took off his shoulders this weight he's been carrying. But you did not. You are still carrying one, are you not?
Young Midoriya frowns, his mouth turning into a thin line. His eyes slide away. How much do you really know? He finally says, not quite a question.
Enough to have some theories, not enough to be sure what we should do going forward.
Toshinori admits, gentle.
I hope you might be able to help me out with that.
I don't think there's anything to do. Young Midoriya replies, voice low.
Is there not?
No, he insists, firm.
Why not?
The tenseness seemed to have slid down from young Midoriya's expression to his body as well, shoulders stiff. Do we really need to talk about this? He sighs, carting a hand through his messy hair. I don't want to jostle things too much. I don't want to change the way things are now.
Do you not want to, or are you afraid to?
Toshinori murmurs, gentle. His words might have been a whip for how hard young Midoriya flinches. He coils on himself a bit more, fingers tight on the fabric of his pants. If I tell you, he starts, nervous, can you promise me that there won't be any negative repercussions? Toshinori frowns at that, taking a second to think before softly replying,
It depends on what you mean with repercussions.
I mean that no matter what I tell you, it stays between us. I mean that no one will suffer consequences for things that are long in the past. Midoriya adds, his voice a bit firmer, frown deepening. If you can't promise me that, then I won't tell. Toshinori can't help but recall what Aizawa said, how this was clearly a touchy subject for Midoriya. He sighs. It's obvious he has no other choice but to give in.
Okay,
He murmurs, squeezing young Midoriya's shoulder gently.
it stays between us.
Midoriya nods jerkily but stays silent for long seconds. When he finally starts to talk, his voice is low, subdued. Me and Kachan, we were friends ever since we were pretty much babies, he says, careful. He always was headstrong, but things turned for the worse once his quirk manifested. He wasn't very nice, let's put it this way. A pause. I have this memory. I wasn't even 6 years old yet, and I remember being afraid after getting lost. I was so scared I would never find my way home. And then Kachan brought me home, but he treated me like... He takes a deep shuddering sigh, pushing his fists against his eyes. I stopped following him like a dog after that, he murmurs, rough. But we still ended up around one another all the time, all through elementary and then middle school. He would either ignore me or treat me like crap, no in between. And I wanted nothing more than to be friends again, but he would say things to me with such a carelessness sometimes, he made me doubt he was even human. There's a long second of silence, only filled by birds chirping above their heads, as Midoriya adds in barely a whisper. After the result of the entrance exams, he confronted me. He really thought I was lying all along, that I was just faking, being blind, like... It felt as if he stabbed me in that moment. Toshinori tenses at that heart beating painfully in his throat. He closes his eyes, taking a deep, careful breath, palm cautiously sliding away from young Midoriya's shoulder to go gently rub at his back in a silent encouragement. I did bad things too, Midoriya continues after that. I snapped at him so violently I ended up breaking his nose. He slowly takes his hands away from his eyes, looking a bit pale. It's all so broken, and I don't know what I should do.
The fact that you cannot connect with him with your quirk,
Toshinori says, voice low, still rubbing his back. Midoriya doesn't ask how he knows, shaking his head with a little sigh. I think it's me, he says, slowly.
I'm just so scared it'll hurt me again that I have, like, this mental block. I can't. He gestured vaguely, frustrated. I'm, like, torn. Half of me always feels like cowering whenever he's nearby, and the other half just hopes that maybe one day things will turn okay. After that, he let his face fall down against his knees, tired. I have so few memories of the world before I went blind, but I still remember him so clearly. Even though I rationally know the kid that was my friend is long gone, it's just, I can't help but remember him like that. Like a kid I loved so much a lifetime ago. A heavy silence falls on them after that. Toshinori carefully shuffles closer, and when he guides young Midoriya to lean against him, he doesn't resist, letting his head rest against Toshinori's shoulder in a half-hug. He sniffs. Please, keep your promise, he says, voice broken. I don't want to ruin things for Kachan. I think he's changed a lot already, and I know he will keep changing and growing going forward. But if what's between us, our pasts, emerges in front of everyone's eyes, I'm not sure they'd be able to look at him the way they do now. A pause. I love this school and the people in it, and I'm sure that deep down in his own weird way, Kachan does too. Please don't ruin this for him. Toshinori has to gulp around a knot in his throat, undeniably moved by young Midoriya's selflessness. He leans into the hug, one arm around young Midoriya's shoulder, his other hand rising to gently rest on his soft hair.
I won't,
he murmurs.
This stays between us.
Thank you, young Midoriya replies with a little trembly exhale. He shifts, leaning toward Toshinori a bit more as his arms rise to circle Toshinori's chest. They stay like that for a long time, silent. The tenseness gradually leaves young Midoriya, and when he softly shifts back a bit, he looks much less ashy, if still a bit rattled. His pale eyes shift upward, meeting Toshinori's. Is there something more you wanted to talk about? He asks, sounding tired. Because I think I'm all out of emotional discussion energies. Toshinori chuckles at that, ruffling his hair.
No, I think we are good,
he replies.
Well, I think we will need to talk about this more in the future. I don't want to force you for the moment. We can take one step at a time regarding this, okay?
At that, young Midoriya seems to tense a bit, and Toshinori adds,
As I promised, there won't be consequences for anyone, nor will I betray your trust by spilling the beans to anyone else. I just wish to help you mend things with young Bakugo, if that's what you wish.
Midoriya visibly relaxes. Not even Aizawa-sensei?
Not even to him,
Toshinori confirms. Okay, Midoriya murmurs, massaging his eyes. If you're with me, then it'll be okay. This whole mental block thing I've got going's probably bad for me anyway. Toshinori can only hum in agreement at that consideration before carefully saying,
I hope talking about it will be the first step to heal these old wounds.
Young Midoriya blinks, looking pensive, before a little lopsided smile pulls at his lips. But he doesn't elaborate on that sudden expression shift, merely nodding. I think it helped a bit. Thank you.
To be frank, I'm not quite sure how we should proceed from here,
Toshinori admits, scratching his cheek. The difficult art of navigating interpersonal relationships has never been his strong suit, if he had to be honest.
But when you feel up to it, we can discuss it together. Bounce some ideas off one another.
Young Midoriya's smile turns into a little tired grin. Sounds like a plan. Izuku blinks when his cane bumps into something. Or better, someone, as they make a little surprised noise at that. I'm sorry, Izuku immediately says, taking a step back. His free hand finds the wall at his left and slides to search the plate, the little bumps of braille under his fingertip confirming to him that he's in the right place.
He hears a little smacking noise, and then the person he accidentally bumped into speaks, cheerful.
Right! I was confused for a second there. Sorry about that. Mirio-senpai says. I forgot that you were blind, Midoriya. Forgive me.
Oh, senpai! Izuku replies, surprised. Don't worry about it. Huh? Why are you here?
That's funny. I wanted to ask you the same thing. Mirio replies, a smile in his voice. The door opens and Izuku waits, blinking, both hands resting on the handle of his cane. You are both on time. Thank you. All Might says. Please, come in. Izuku hears Mirio move, and he follows suit, All Might closing the door behind them. He's familiar enough with this space that he can easily find the usual couch, sitting on it side by side with Mirio as All Might takes place in front of them. There's a moment of silence only filled by All Might pouring 3 cups of tea. Thank you! Mirio exclaims, lively, accepting his. I have to admit, I'm quite excited about being called in by you, sir. Although I have no idea why.
I'm not quite sure either, Izuku adds, more subdued, tilting an eyebrow. You can hear All Might take a sip.
Young Mirio is currently working as an intern in Night Eye's office,
he says, measured after that.
Izuku immediately catches on a small smile opening on his face.
Really?
He asks, turning a bit toward Mirio, then hums happily. I've had the honor to work with Sir for a year now, he confirms.
I wanted to ask you, do you think that young Midoriya would be fit to work under Night Eye's guidance?
All Might asks, voice leveled. Mirio seemed to take a few seconds to think, and when he speaks, there's a smile in his voice as one of his arms circles Izuku's shoulders amicably, surprising him.
I see. You want me to introduce Midoriya to him, right? I think it could be a good idea. I certainly feel like Midoriya's quirk could mesh very well with Sir's approach to work. I already thought that Sir would probably like him. He pats Izuku's shoulder a couple of times. Tell me, Midoriya, why do you want to be a hero? The question certainly catches Izuku by surprise. He blinks, vaguely turned toward Mirio as he gingerly plays with the handle of his cane. He takes a moment to think, after that false start.
Why does he want to be a hero? Before his life at UA started, it always felt like a distant dream, something so vague and unattainable. All Might was his idol, but now he knew he simply couldn't fall in his exact footsteps. All Might was All Might, and Izuku, he wasn't All Might. But still, all the sweat and blood and tears he shed so far, all the pain he went through, they were not for nothing. He already brought a change in people's lives with his actions just as much as others brought changes for him. And he still remembered how he felt when All Might asked him to inherit one for all. How much he wanted to use this power that had been offered to him to protect others. I want to be a hero so I can protect everyone, Izuku says quietly. I want to become a beacon of hope. Someone that will bring joy and relief in the hearts of people. Someone that will make them smile. A deep breath. I want to become the best hero ever. A moment of silence follows his declaration, and Izuku can't help but tighten his hands around the handle of his cane, a bit of unsureness seeping into him. He kind of spoke from deep down his heart, not really thinking how full of himself he was. Look, now,
your reasons sound a bit vague, but... Mirio comments, but his voice is light, not a trace of doubt in it. I see. Well, I have no reason to refuse you, so sure, I'll introduce you to Sir. You will? Izuku replies, excited and relieved. Thank you so much. No problem. But I do have a question, Mirio says, pensive. All Might, Sir, why did you feel the need to ask me? After all, if you were to come and meet Sir Night Eye directly, he'd certainly be overjoyed. He's always observing you. Izuku blinks at that, staying quiet. He did say that he would not push All Might, but we cannot deny he's rather curious about why his light felt so tense when he mentioned Night Eye to him.
I think it would be for the better if you are the one to introduce young Midoriya.
All Might replies, voice low.
Me and Night Eye do not agree on certain things. And if I have to be honest, I simply cannot bring myself to meet him at the moment.
Mirio hums, thoughtful, before releasing a little sigh.
I understand.
In any case, I hope you will come by someday, at least. Sir would be really happy about it.
I will consider it.
All Might says, barely above a whisper.
Thank you for your help, my boy.
Shoto's first day off since the start of their second trimester was shaping to not being nearly as nice as the last couple of Saturdays that he got to spend with Izuku. But it couldn't be helped. He had to attend the provisional license training course, and Izuku told him that he would go with Mirio-senpai to visit the pro hero Mirio worked with as an intern to get introduced, hoping to score a place for his own internship. They parted ways the evening prior, wishing each other good luck with a chaste kiss in front of Izuku's room. His current company was much less pleasant. Bakugo looked grumpier than normal as they walked out the dormitory side by side carrying their costumes in the usual cases. Shoto couldn't say he was exactly happy about this either, but since Izuku was so hell-bent in being nice to Bakugo for some reason, Shoto guessed he could at least try to be civil and work with him. Oi, half enough, get your head back down here on planet Earth. Bakugo suddenly says, sounding annoyed. I swear to God, ever since you got with Deku, you've turned into a total bird brain. Be civil. There's no need to speak like that, Shoto replies even. I understand that you're irritated by the fact we have to attend this course, but I don't see the reason why you should vent your frustration on me. I'm not venting, Bakugo comes back, huffing. Just making an observation. You're totally distracted all the time. If you don't focus, you're gonna fall behind. Shoto blinks at that, taking a moment to mull over the meaning behind Bakugo's words. Is this his version of worrying? He turns a bit, launching a little look at his right. Bakugo is looking forward, the usual frown on his face, but he must feel Shoto's gaze on him because he turns, red eyes burning as he purses his lips into a thin line. What? He says, aggressive. Nothing, Shoto replies, turning his eyes away. I will focus. No need to tell me. Haha. Besides, why do you care about mine and Izuku's relationship? Oh God, the name calling gross. Bakugo mutters, an exaggerated, disgusted expression on his face. I don't care, he adds louder. You are the one that brought up the topic. I told you I don't care, Bakugo snaps. You can do all that lovey-dovey crap and swap spit with him all you want, half and half, it's your loss. Shoto sniffs, not replying, and his decision to not rise to the bait seems to pay off, as Bakugo deflates a bit, chisking. They walked the rest of the way in silence, and Shoto figured that, all things considered, that wasn't too bad of a first real conversation with Bakugo. He silently filed it in the back of his mind and moved on, noticing the familiar dark-clad figure waiting for them outside the gates in front of a car. Morning. Aizawa-sensei greets them, monotone as usual. You are a bit early. You can put your bags in the car. We'll leave in 5 minutes. They do so as Aizawa-sensei keeps sipping his coffee, clearly more asleep than awake, and Shoto leans back against the car, checking his phone. He got a few messages, so he rapidly reads them. They are mostly well wishes for his first extra lesson, and he smiles a bit to himself as he answers to them all with a thank you. Yaoyorozu sent to him one of those cat pictures she likes so much too, and he's looking at it with his head tilted on the side, trying to understand why she found this particular one so funny, when he hears a very familiar voice. When he looks up from his phone, Izuku is walking outside the gate side by side with Mirio, hand firm on his cane as he chats with the older student animatedly. He doesn't seem to react to Shoto's presence at all, the both of them walking past along the sidewalk, until he casually folds the cane and then stops cold in his tracks. Ah! He gasps, surprised. Mirio-senpai, wait a second, please. He turns on his heels, literally running up to Shoto with a big smile. It happened so fast that Shoto doesn't have time to react. Izuku stopping in front of him and rising on the tip of his feet to smack a slightly off the mark kiss just a few millimeters away from the corner of Shoto's mouth. Good luck! Be safe! I'll see you later! He says, rushed, before running back to Mirio, that's grinning cheerfully. He gives Shoto a thumb up as Izuku falls back by his side, and they easily resume their animated discussion, walking away.
Shoto is still a bit gobsmacked by that little whirlwind of events, his fingers rising to his face, fingertips brushing on the point Izuku kissed loudly. He blinks, something warm in his chest, as he smiles to himself before letting out a little sigh and turning. Bird brain, Bakugo mutters, rolling his eyes, before climbing in the car with an annoyed grunt. Shoto silently does the same, eyes not quite meeting Aizawa Sensei's that are pointed at him. But Shoto could swear that for a split second out the corner of his eye, he saw Sensei's mouth shift into a small smile.